Okay, let's talk about the systematic failure of prayer. This is another thing. Well, if there's a God sitting around, maybe he just maybe he's a little lazy. Maybe he needs a reminder that these things over here need fixing. They're not quite working very well. And people supposedly can pray to God and tell him about his neglected duties. And in fact, the Bible even confirms that. Matthew 17:20, Jesus says, "For truly I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed," a little bit of faith, you will say to this mountain, "Move from here to there, and I will move," and nothing will be impossible for you. Nothing. Isn't that powerful? Boy, just a little bit of faith, a little bit of prayer, and anything you want to happen.
I haven't heard of any mountains moving.
No.
I guess the conclusion is that either there is no one in the world who had faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed.
It's the smallest seed, according to Jesus.
Or they just didn't see any mountains that needed moving.
Right. Well, surely, the settlers of the West would have liked to have, had the mountains part so
that would have been
explore the West Coast.
But, they were all atheists. No wonder Christians feel so persecuted.
Mormons or something. Mormons never made it over the mountains, did they? Anyway, I guess they did. Yeah, Utah's on the other side. Anyway, somehow they found a way.
Eventually.
There's another one, Matthew 18:19. Jesus says, "Again I say unto you, if two of you agree on the earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For when there are two or three are gathered in my name, I am in the midst of them." So
I got a problem with that.
Me too.
Football games, anyone?
Football games. You have people on both sides praying for opposite things. So
can God
do they cancel
contradictory things? Because presumably that both sides are praying. Or actually, people always bring up
God's
football games. I have a better,
win.
Yeah, I have a better example that even more is an issue of scale: the stock market.
Oh yeah.
There are millions of transactions happening all the time, every day, and one person making money depends on another person losing money. That must be a logistical nightmare for God if people are praying over the stock market.
Right. How do you keep everybody at zero sum and all that? Right. So from that last quote where we have, if two or three of you come together and pray in my name, it'll come true. The only thing I can think about that is, boy, Christians surely must be very selfish, right? Because we have all this evil in the world, all this, famine and disease and persecution and such, and if only two of them would get together and solve, they could solve the problem. Or why do we need a national defense system? Why not just have two or three Christians, pray and say, hey, we're going to put a protective shield around the United States?
Yeah, and plus,
it'd be a lot cheaper.
How many people have told us that they would pray for us to change our minds?
That's right. That's right. We get that all the time. We'll pray for you.
Hasn't worked so far.
It's not working too well. So, what about Christians who pray for their own, who are starving to death? Groups of Christians who want not to be victims. What about those folks? Well, the spin in this case is that these people don't believe enough, that they need more Christianity, and this is sort of a blame the victim sort of thing, right? If you're a Christian and you don't get what you want, it's because you're not good enough for God's word, and this is the basis of the prosperity gospel, right? Where God blesses the rich. And if you're poor, you don't believe it's good enough. And this is the basis of our faith-based initiatives, by the way. This same idea that if people are in trouble or if they're in jail or if they need help, they need more. It's because they don't have enough religion in their lives. So does Andrea Yates, who drowned her 5 kids in Houston, does she need more religion, you think? Do you think that would help the situation?
I don't know. I guess she was an atheist.
No. No. Anyway.
No, neither was Susan Smith, who also did the same thing. In fact, it's gotten to the point where anytime I see a headline that says somebody killed their kids, I'm like, how far will we go before we get to the Christian angle? And I'm never disappointed.
It's shocking. It's shocking. There always seems to be a religious motivation. So getting back to prayer, in reality, nothing fails like prayer. I mean, we have a little phrase like that, nothing fails like prayer. When there's been controlled studies, in fact, there's been one pretty recently, about 2 years ago, from the Templeton Foundation, that was a study of intercessory prayer, where people were praying for the benefit of some people in the hospital, and the study found, and this was funded by a kind of religious-friendly organization. The study found that there wasn't any positive benefit to this, and in fact, the only time that there has been positive benefit shown for the person being prayed about is when the study has been found to be fraudulent. So that tells you a lot, that the people want there to be studies like this, and they're willing to make them fraudulent. There is a benefit, it turns out, to the prayer. But it's the same benefit you'd get from meditation or just talking, just slowing down and thinking about, the big picture for a minute or two.
I'm not sure that you can categorically say that all studies about prayer have failed, because if you look at it in a meta sense, the test group that they're going to look at, some of them will be slightly above average, some of them will slightly be below average, and so if you take like hundreds of studies, then you will wind up finding a few studies where it looked like more people got better than you would expect from random chance. I mean, that's just the way the nature of statistical
And it's analogous to if you throw darts randomly, at some point you're going to hit something. And so it's called the sharpshooter's fallacy, where if you're allowed to circle after the fact where you meant the dart to go, then it looks like you're a pretty good shot. It's sort of like that. So nothing fails like prayer. Nobody seems to be able to talk to God, and so they're and in fact, believers themselves don't really believe that they can talk to God. I mean, when do you find true believers in hospitals, right? If they were true believers, they'd go to their minister, they'd go pray, and they'd have their disease cured.
Christian scientists.
They
don't believe in medicine,
and I'm willing to bet that their longevity is quite a bit lower than.
So you should do a study on that.
This is kind of almost a mean thing to say, but I had an aunt who was a Christian Scientist until she got really sick, and then she kicked that to the curb because she wanted to live, and clearly that wasn't going to do it. And I mentioned the national defense thing. If we really believed that prayer was going to work, we would use it for our national defense instead of a way to
Didn't
send
Jerry Falwell or Pat Robertson or both used to talk about how 9/11 happened because God took his shield of protection away from the United States because he was so ticked off?
Send them more money to help restore that shield.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, it would certainly be a lot cheaper if we eliminated our Department of Defense. It would probably deal with all our budget problems.
Yeah, it would save us a lot of money.
We could rely on God's magical shield of protection. Oh, I forgot. It's our fault. Right. That doesn't work anymore.
Right. It's those atheists that are causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah. Only I thought that people just had to have the faith of a mustard seed. I mean, how weak is God if a minority like us, it's 15% if it's non-believers, but it's like 5% if you're talking about the serious atheists, who I assume are the ones that are causing the problem. How weak is God if he needs unanimity to maintain his shield? I mean, you would think that the power of the prayers could divert the engines or something to divert all power to the forward shields or something.
Right.
God just atheists I guess were like kryptonite to God.
Right. Well, we've teased in the past about how gays must have some sort of protective shield. Because,
yes, right.
When the hurricane hit New Orleans, the really awful part, the French Quarter ended up surviving pretty well, mostly because it was on high ground. But
science.
But the people are happy to spin that as God's wrath against those evil homosexuals. Anyway, pretty silly stuff. You want to take some calls?
Okay.
Do we have a call?
We've got a call. I've been seeing the lights blinking on and off, which means our call screeners are hard at work. But we're going to go ahead and take AJ. AJ, are you there?
Yep, I am here. Yeah, God's skill up. That took me. I guess what I prepared will work. I've been wondering because I need a netbook for education. I should be able to.
You need a what for
What?
You need a what for education?
Netbook. It's like a smaller kind of laptop.
Oh, uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
And according to the Bible, there was a woman who needed rent money and food for her kids, and I think Abraham went to her and told her to pray, and then she had like infinite oil in a little jar, which she used to make food and sell for rent.
Okay.
So I'm thinking if someone can get infinite fossil fuel in a pot o' holding, it should be nothing to get me a $300 netbook.
There you go. There you
You
go.
would think,
Have you
right?
tried praying?
Yes.
Did it work?
No. I get yet another shot, even though I'm an atheist, and decide to say, okay, Jesus, let's give this another shot. No.
I think you're praying too specifically.
Okay.
If you get a lot
It's
vaguer
obviously your fault,
and say,
yeah.
I would like something to happen, you might find $10 in the street here and there that you could credit to God, and then
If you wait long enough, then you'll have enough money, or the thing will be obsolete and you won't need it anymore.
right.
Could I give could I pick multiple brands and websites to order from? Like, yeah, just pick any one of these, God, because you can't decide.
You know, somebody ought to look into whether that jar of infinite oil is still around. Because
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be useful.
That's right. If it's
actually.
infinite, it should still be
seems
around.
to me that you could devise some kind of machine that could extract the oil from that stuff on a
That'd be
regular
so
basis.
useful for current
It
American
would,
oil
yeah, because
society.
it would solve the energy crisis.
Okay. But the oil was probably something like olive oil, not.
Yeah,
But,
well,
but you can still
Even
burn it.
so, I mean, you can
Yeah,
make biodiesel
ethanol.
out of olive
There
oil,
you go.
right?
There you go.
I mean, the problem with biodiesel is it costs more to grow it than in
Yeah.
energy
It's
terms
infinite.
than the energy you actually get out of it. But if you had even an infinite jar of olive oil, that would really
Right.
be
And it could be a
helpful.
small infinite march.
We should get to the president about this immediately.
Is
that all?
Great idea.